Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner. Cody, how are you on this fine Saturday morning?
James, I am doing fantastic. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that things are a little different. So we're excited to be doing some upgrades to the podcast and things like that. James, how are you doing today?
Doing very well, You know how you always ask people to go ahead and give us a 5-star review and how happy that'll make me if they do it?
I do. I remember. I ask them every episode.
You do. Well, it came true. Maybe something to do with you, it seems like, with the name here on this particular gentleman. EDH almost sounds like Edinburgh or something here.
It's not Edinburgh, but that's funny.
EDH449 says, these guys do great coverage with a fun original take. Most shows regurgitate the same talking points, but this is a down-to-earth watch at a bar with the dudes review. Cody's on the ball and catches what happens in the play outside of where the ball is. So very much so appreciate the 5-star review.
Yes, and that was a buddy of mine, Eric Holcomb. I'm assuming his middle name starts with D. So Eric D. Holcomb. Probably big shout out to him myself and Dylan Sonny last week watched the game at a local joint here in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, and we enjoyed that, and it was a good time. And so the thing that happened was there'd be a penalty on the play, and I'd be like, well, there was holding, and like it's just things that if you're not used to watching football or don't watch a ton of, like they don't often know what's happening. Or I think one of the ones wasn't on screen, like it was like they said there was a flag, and I was like, that's probably in the secondary holding because the quarterback had to scramble out, didn't find anywhere to pass the ball. You didn't see a flag on the line of scrimmage, so I'm assuming it's just things that come naturally to me. So that was a fun time. Shout out to those guys. But also, James, a shout out to our brand new partner here at Steelers by the Lake. We have our first sponsor, hopefully one of many more, but we're very excited to announce this. The Edinburgh Hotel Bar is the sponsor for us today. That's not the one I'm looking for. So Edinburgh Hotel is an official sponsor of us, serving a variety of lunch and dinner items every day at their location at 100 Meadville Street here in downtown Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. Information can be found at that phone number on the screen, 814-734-5103, or online at edinburghhotelbar.com. The Edinburgh Hotel Bar, where you had me at hotel. So big shout out to them. Pat is the owner there. He's a big time Steeler guy. If you go into that bar, you know it's a Steeler bar. There's Steelers memorabilia everywhere. That's typically where I go watch footballs on Sunday right now. It is an awesome time. There's just an awesome number of people there. So go check it out. Super exciting.
Yeah, very excited to have the sponsorship going on here at the Edinburgh Hotel Bar. So appreciate those folks, and definitely a fun place to go watch a game, no doubt about that. So on to the news going on this week, Cody. We've got some transactions, as we always seem to, specifically with the practice squad. Pittsburgh brought in kick returner / wide receiver Jamal Agnew and signed him to the practice squad. He has quite the resume as an accomplished kick return man. Jonathan Ward, the running back, signed to the practice squad as well. So he's the one that was just released from the 53-man roster. We were expecting to see him come to the practice squad, and he absolutely did. They needed to release 2 guys in order to make room for them. Cody, do you want to cover the 2 guys released from the practice squad?
Yeah. So unfortunately, it was John LeGlue and Lane McCutcheon. Both those guys released from the practice squad. Both those guys are no longer here. John LeGlue, longtime practice squad and active roster guy that's been kind of bounced around for us for a little while, excuse me. And then we also have, he's not a little guy, not at all. We also have some exciting news from an injury standpoint, James. Corey Trice Jr. returns to practice, which opens up his 21-day window to return to the active roster. very, very, very exciting news because especially with the depth we have at cornerback, it's almost like we haven't had horrible play from the cornerback room. We haven't. We've seen a little rough patches from Dante Jackson here and there. Again, he's leading the team with 3 interceptions right now, 2 of them coming in the same game against Aaron Rodgers. No, that was Beanie Bishop. But 2 of Dante Jackson's, I think, came in the same game, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I don't know. Anyways, it gives us flexibility to where if someone's having a bad game, Corey Trice can step in. I don't see him taking a starting role from any of the guys in there right now, unless you technically put him in there at the nickel. But Cam Sutton's also back, so it's like I don't know where Corey Trice falls into on the depth chart, and I'm sure that the Pittsburgh website probably says something. I don't know how accurate that is, but I don't think Corey Trice is automatically going to be thrown in as a starter anywhere.
I don't think so either, but I do believe that if we continue seeing the struggles from Dante Jackson that we've been seeing more recently, that they're going to make room for him pretty quick. Plus, he keeps on missing a lot of time in games with injuries, whether it be this reoccurring shoulder injury, now this most recent game, a hamstring injury. Seems like he's recovered enough from that one that he's likely to play this upcoming Sunday, so that's good. But at the same point in time, if his coverage doesn't get a little better, because all 3 of his interceptions so far have been on badly thrown balls where it wasn't him making a great play on it, just the ball was thrown kind of to no one, and he was the guy that happened to be closest and got the interception. So, yeah, I mean, him and Beanie Bishop tied for the team lead with 3 apiece. I feel like Pittsburgh is not going to give Dante Jackson a real long hook before they move on from him as this season continues. So we'll see what happens. But I think he's a better long-term solution than what we're seeing from Dante Jackson because a lot of his high points have just been straight up lucky so far.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like Beanie Bishop where he's actually gone out and made plays, which is still crazy to me to see the number of plays that we've seen from him just this season in such a short amount of time. And from a young guy that's been undrafted, it's been very exciting to see. But Corey Trice does add a aspect of depth to the cornerback room that I think is already pretty deep, quite frankly, especially with the addition, again, of Cam Sutton. So that's your 5, unless you're rolling with 6. You got Cam Sutton, Dante Jackson, Joey Porter Jr., Beanie Bishop, and Corey Trice, and that is a very talented talent is not something we're short of in the cornerback room by any means.
And then you still have both CJ Henderson and James Pierre on the roster currently too. So I think if Corey Trice does get activated, look for a tough decision to be made between the possible future upside of CJ Henderson at the corner position versus the extremely high talented gunner as James Pierre.
Not receiver, as we saw from last week.
Definitely not.
No, I'm very unfortunate. He's lucky that he's a good gunner because that would have been enough for him to easily be the odd man out if he wasn't such a good gunner. So, again, very interesting to see there. James, now it's time to look at the injury list for this week. Again, Pittsburgh Steelers are hosting the Baltimore Ravens in our first divisional matchup of the year here in week, 11? It feels like
crazy, isn't it?
That's insane. James, do you want to start with the Steelers this week?
I'll let you do the Steelers and I'll take the Ravens.
Okay, I'll do Steelers. So Steelers injury report goes as followed. Van Jefferson, wide receiver, is out not out, but listed as unknown status right now. He did fully participate Friday with a quadricep injury. Didn't participate Wednesday, limited on Thursday, full on Friday. So that's good news for him. Quite frankly, I don't know if we need him at this point with Mike Williams. We'll get to that. Najee Harris, running back, dealing with an ankle injury. Didn't participate on Wednesday, but fully participated on Thursday and Friday. Dante Jackson, corner, hamstring injury, didn't participate, limited, and then full in that order this week. Nick Herbig with that hamstring, fully participated all week. That is very exciting news for Mr. Nick Herbig. Alex Highsmith, unfortunately, listed as out with that ankle injury. We all expected him to miss 2 to 4 weeks, so expect him to be out for the remainder of that time. Isaac Siamalu, the guard, was listed as a non-injury related, resting, didn't participate on Wednesday, fully participated Thursday and Friday, expect him to go. Michael Pruitt, the tight end, knee and non-injury related resting as a veteran, didn't participate all week, doubtful to go. So that's very interesting. Cam Hayward with the contusion to the birth certificate did not participate in practice Wednesday or Thursday, but fully participant on Friday. CJ Henderson, that cornerback that we just spoke about, former first-round pick, dealing with a neck injury, hasn't participated all week. He is listed as out. Jalen Warren with a back injury, didn't participate on Thursday, limited on Friday, listed as questionable. And then Corey Trice, again, dealing with that hamstring, coming back from that, fully participated both Thursday and Friday, but still listed as questionable there. So very interesting to see. James, who are you most concerned about on the injury list for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
The running back room, Cody, because all of a sudden all of them are injured. So
yeah, literally,
just as we move everybody off, that's an excessive guy. Now all of a sudden the injuries creep back up. So at least the one name you don't see on here is Cordarrelle Patterson. So he's fully healthy going into this game.
Yep.
He was really starting to catch on before suffering his own injury earlier in the season and missing probably a month or more. But yeah, Jalen Warren, we had no idea of a back injury in last week's game. So not until the practice report this week. And then Najee, we saw that ankle. So you would like to think he'll be ready to go. But a little bit worrisome because this is a game where you might need to run the ball a little bit more effectively than normal. And that might not be as much of an option with so many injuries in that room. So a bit of a concern for me.
Yep. James, you want to go over this Baltimore Ravens injury list?
Let's talk about them, man. It looks like they're a lot healthier than Pittsburgh is currently. So we're going to go over these guys here. The cornerback room, Jalen Armour Davis has a knee injury, but was fully participating on both Friday and Thursday. Kyle Hamilton, the safety, the big story there for them, was limited most of the week, but was full on Friday. They're expecting him to be healthy enough to go. Lamar Jackson just got a rest day, not injury related. Travis Jones, the defensive tackle, has been limited all week long, and they're calling him questionable with that ankle injury for this Sunday's game. Isaiah Likely, coming off a hamstring injury, he is a full participant all week, so I would call him likely to play. Arthur Mollett, the cornerback, you might remember him as a Pittsburgh Steeler who didn't cover very well, but was good against the run. He's got a calf injury, do not participate all week, and is officially out. So that kind of sucks because I would rather that he had to try to cover Calvin Austin III because Calvin would have smoked him all game long.
Yep.
So that's not a matchup we will get to see. It's going to be another corner instead. Brent Urban, the defensive end, in concussion protocol, it looks like, was a full participant Friday. They're expecting him to go. And then Kyle Van Noy had an illness, but is also full and expected to go. So very, very few serious injuries that they're looking at in this game. Pretty much just the defensive tackle, Travis Jones, and Arthur Mollett being out, which is, he's good against the run. He's not good against the pass. So take it however you like it.
and I guess the excitement there is there's no excuses, right? The Baltimore fans can't say if we come out with a win, like, oh yeah, well, we were missing this guy or we were missing this guy or whatever. And I enjoy that aspect for this game because a lot of people, and myself included to some degree, are questioning how legit this Steelers team is. We've beaten some teams, we've done some close games with teams that maybe we should be drastically better than. The defense has held up very, very well. But can this Pittsburgh Steelers offense led by Russell Wilson go out and score enough points to beat an offense led by Lamar Jackson? And I'm excited to see the matchup. I'm excited to see the things going on. I think TJ's going to have a good game and we'll go from there. But James, now it's time to go over the depth chart here for the Baltimore Ravens. Let's go ahead and take a peek at that. So on the offensive side of the ball, obviously quarterback Lamar Jackson. You don't even need to talk about the backup unless he gets hurt, obviously. Fullback Patrick Ricard, the running back Derrick Henry, Justice Hill. Those guys are going to be, Derrick Henry is probably, honestly, the biggest concern I have for this offense. It's almost not Lamar anymore because I've seen Pittsburgh handle Lamar so well. I haven't seen us handle the dual threat of Lamar and Derrick Henry. So I'm going to be interested to see how that plays out. The tight end room, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely are the two guys that are definitely going to get the most action in this game. Wide receiver room, Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman Deontay Johnson listed as a third stringer right now, which I think is hysterical. Tylan Wallace and Nelson Aguilar are listed as their backups, and then obviously Deontay and Devontae Walker listed as third stringers. And then this offensive line, which is a very, very tough and stout crew. Ronnie Stanley listed as the starting left tackle, Patrick McCarry at the left guard, Tyler Linderbaum listed as the starting center, Daniel Falele listed at right guard, and then Roger Rosengarten listed as that starting right tackle. This offensive line is probably the best we've played all year and probably the best we will play all year, in my opinion. I don't know that there's another offensive line we've faced up to this point or will face that's going to be better than this. Kansas City Chiefs have a good one, but it's not quite this, in my opinion. So, James, what do you got to talk about on this offensive side of the ball?
So the line's a real interesting one to me. Some massive individuals at the guard positions with Falele. He used to be a right tackle that failed. He's now a 6'8", 380-pound guard. That can cause some issues as far as visibility over the middle of the field. Tyler Linderbaum was always an undersized guy, gained a bunch of dirty weight. Has still played well so far. But Roger Rosengarten, the right tackle, is the biggest question mark. He was like a third or fourth round pick, if I recall correctly. And one of his issues being like the size, not a real dense dude. So if they're bold enough to give TJ Watt the opportunity to give one-on-ones with Roger Rosengarten, I think it's going to be a really, really long day for Lamar. So that's the big thing there to me. Our middle linebackers better be on their best game because this is the best linebacker core they're going to go against, or the best tight end core they're going to go against all year long. So very important that our linebackers are really, really stellar in coverage this week.
Yeah. James, you want to take a look at that defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, this is the meat and potatoes for this team as far as the defensive front. So up front, defensive tackle Nnamdi Matabuik, nose tackle Broderick Washington, defensive end Travis Jones. These dudes are stout. Their specialty is definitely stopping the run. Now, as far as the linebacker crew, we've got Odafe Owe, a pass rushing specialist. Kyle Van Noy, also a pass rushing specialist. Roquan Smith and Trenton Simpson in the middle, both of them highly athletic. Roquan struggling very mightily in the passing defense game this year. That was a specialty of his last year, seems to be really struggling with it this year. So that might be something you can really take advantage of with the Steelers tight ends over the middle possibly. So we'll see how Pittsburgh goes as far as attacking that unit. The cornerback room, this doesn't have the injuries on here, so I'm not 100% certain who the starters are. It's listing Marlon Humphrey as a starting corner. I'm like 99% sure he's on the injured reserve right now. So that's not going to be someone we're playing against. The other starting corner listed is Brandon Stevens, Jalen Armour Davis, also in the corner room, Nate Wiggins, and Trey White, recently traded for Trey White. I'm kind of hoping to see Trey White play a lot because he was slow when he was in his prime, and now he's coming off of 2 season-ending injuries and even slower yet, I'm sure. So I would love to see some Trey White versus George Pickens in this game because I think that would be an extreme advantage for Pittsburgh. They're secondary, and they've also got Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams as the starting safeties. Hamilton coming off of what looked like a nasty ankle injury. Marcus Williams just not playing well. Their secondary is one of the worst in the entire NFL. People are passing all over the Baltimore Ravens. Their defense in general is just nowhere near as good as what it typically is, but their secondary is just atrocious. This should be a game where Pittsburgh can take full advantage and pass all over them, assuming the offensive line holds up long enough.
I'm not seeing anything here that would indicate Marlon Humphrey being on the IR.
He's definitely injured because that's the reason they traded for Trey White.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Check ESPN because that's where we found it last time when it wasn't on the team websites.
Yeah. We'll definitely look into that. James, do you want to go over the special teams? Sure. First, you're right. Teams have passed all over this team. I was actually in the process of checking to see how many pass yards they've allowed. Just out of
They're like one of the worst in the NFL, if not the worst.
I think I'm pretty sure they're very, very, very bad against the pass, but I don't know exactly what the yardage is or how that compares. But again, I'm attempting to pull that up here in a second. So that's a number to look at. But again, I mean, especially the deep ball, if we can get some one-on-one situations with George Pickens or Mike Williams, I believe both those guys are going to out jump any of the guys on this Ravens defense. And that's saying a lot because they have big name guys. They're just not stopping people. They're just not allowing it. So pass yards allowed in all their games so far. I mean, they allowed 421 pass yards against the Cincinnati Bengals and they won. So they allowed over 300 pass yards in 4 other games, over 250 in 2 other games. So the only teams they've held under 200 passing yards so far this year, the Denver Broncos.
With Bo Nix, who's not good.
And ironically, the Buffalo Bills.
Which, before trading for Amari Cooper, were having some serious issues throwing the ball.
Serious issues. They have no wide receivers. They have a rookie, Keon Coleman, and that was about it. And Dalton Kincaid, the tight end. But again,
and he's been banged up.
And Buffalo's just dealing with a lot of lack of talent on that offensive side of the ball, anyways, outside of Josh Allen. So very, very interesting to see that. James, do you want to go over that second or that
the special teams unit? Yes.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, so the punter is Jordan Stout. He will also be the holder. Justin Tucker, the kicker. My understanding is he's having one of his worst years of his career, nowhere near as reliable as he used to be. Long snapper Nick Moore. Kick return duties will be handled by Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. Punt return duties is handled by Tylon Wallace.
Tylon Wallace, what a guy. So yeah, I mean, obviously Justin Tucker is the most talented guy on that special teams side of the ball, and he's had a rough year or year or two now. He's been missing some balls, and I remember the first one that he missed a few years ago. It was just shocker, like his face lit up, like he was so confused. And so it's exciting to see Chris Boswell not only take the lead in kickers in the AFC North, but in the NFL. Boswell's definitely on pace to match that and to take that title away. James,
Tucker's
would you like?
Tucker's 15 of 19, so he's missed 4 field goals already. He's only making about 75%.
Jeez,
so that's really, really bad for him.
That's horrible for him. And I think Boswell's missed 1 all year so far.
1, yeah. I think he's 25 of 26.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's 100% on extra points throughout the year. And the only game that he missed was against the Chargers. And it was
a 62-yarder. So
that it was. So that's not bad at all. Exciting for Chris Boswell to take that. James, you know what time it is. It is time for 3 keys to success. We're very excited for this moment. James, it is your turn to go first on the 3 keys.
This is an important week, man. So I think if ever there was a time for Mike Tomlin to listen to our podcast, this is
it's right now.
It's right now, Mike. Tune in. So key number 1, I think, will surprise absolutely no one. That's hold Derrick Henry under 100 yards. When the team lose Derrick Henry as much as other games, that's the games they typically lose. So hit him hard, hit him early, gang tackle. Everybody needs the rally. But you gotta keep Derrick Henry from running all over you in this game, or it'll get out of hand real fast. My second key to success is at least 4 touchdowns by this Pittsburgh Steelers team, and I don't care if it comes by offense, defense, special teams, or all of the above. But the Ravens are putting lots of points up on everyone. It's not uncommon to see them over 40 points in a single game this season, which means you better get at least 4 touchdowns to get in the ballpark of what you're going to need for what their offense typically outputs. Obviously, you hope the defense holds up well too, but you better score a lot of points because you're not going to hold this team to 10 or 13 or 17 or something like that. That doesn't happen. They score lots of points on everybody, win or lose. In my third and final key, I want to see over 300 passing yards by our offense. I think this is the game to do it. The Baltimore Ravens secondary is as suspect as it gets. and just not playing well. Their best player, Kyle Hamilton, coming off a pretty nasty ankle injury and was unable to practice fully until Friday. So this is the time to do it. If Russ is going to really torch somebody, this is the team that you should be torching. And you're going to need it with how they normally score points.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% you're going to need it. So that's exciting. James, my turn for 3 keys to success. I liked yours. I did. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to go in a little bit different direction. Number 1 to my 3 keys to success is attack Lamar Jackson. Attack him. In the 3 games that they've lost so far this year, his completion percentage on those 3 games, the first loss to Cleveland was 60.5. The second loss to the Las Vegas Raiders was 61.8. And then I'm going backwards. And their first loss against the Kansas City Chiefs was 63.4. If we can attack him and maintain pressure to where his throws are erratic or not on target, and he doesn't have time or get comfortable in the pocket or even scrambling, that we get that percentage around 65 or less, he is not winning games with that percentage accuracy. The lowest he's got in a win was 61.9, and that was in an overtime win against the Cincinnati Bengals the first time they played each other. And in this last game where it was close, it was 75%. So attack Lamar, get him uncomfortable. I want to see some sacks. That's just not a number or a goal, but that would be nice to see. My second key to success, James, is get the ball going on the ground. I don't care if it's Najee, Cordarrelle Patterson. I don't care I don't care if it's Russell Wilson. I want to see Pittsburgh have 100 rushing yards in this game, and that be combined between quarterback and running back. That's not a lot of yards, but I also don't see us having the ball as long as we normally would in some games because the Ravens are going to control the clock. I think the Ravens are going to pound the ball heavy at the start of the game with Derrick Henry. Having 100 yards as a team is something that Pittsburgh still sometimes struggles to do. Not as much this year, but 100 yards rushing is my goal for this one. And then last but not least, James, I want to see the wide receiver group, not including tight ends, have 150 yards receiving. Again, a low number, but in these battles with Baltimore, they're typically low scoring. I think in the last 5 games, the first team that scored over like 17 points won or something like that. It's not, we're not putting 30, 40 bombs up against Baltimore. They're typically not doing that to us. So I want to see some yards there for the receiver group. So yeah, that's my 3 keys to success. Very low goals, but I think it's maintainable. I think if you maintain certain aspects of this game, we can easily come out with a win. And so I'm excited for that. James, now it's time for score predictions.
Absolutely it is, buddy. And off of your game goals, I'm going to guess that your score is probably going to be a little lower than mine is. So
probably.
I'm going to get mine out of the way because I don't think there's going to be any conflict here at all. I'm going 31-27 with Pittsburgh getting the win. I think lots of points in this. Both offensives are really showing that they can do this. And both secondaries are showing to be a little suspect right now. So I think this is a recipe for lots of points this week.
That is fair. I am going with Pittsburgh winning this game as well in a 20-17 standard 3-point differential between Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh obviously getting the win 2017. So very exciting. If you guys have your score predictions or your 3 keys to success that you want to share with us, please feel free to do that in the comments if you're on YouTube or DM us on any kind of social media platform. Again, we can't thank you guys enough for watching or listening to this preview show for the Baltimore Ravens Week 11 matchup. And we're just super excited. Thank you guys so much. Be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell. It's free. Don't forget the 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. They make James real happy, as you saw in this episode. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.